Think Realty Nation, it's your host, Abhi Golhar. Welcome to the Think Realty podcast. We have a great show lined up for you today with Brew Johnson from PeerStreet. That's going to be an awesome conversation with him. We're talking about what the PeerStreet model offers any level investor and how it differs from other models. So excited to have that conversation. We have a little market update for you as well. And then two topics that I want to talk about today. The first, America's 7 most recession-proof cities. So that's always interesting. Everybody's talking about this downturn that may or may not be coming, but what I know is whatever goes up has to come down. And if you want to protect against a little bit of that downside, there are some cities that are considered recession-proof. Which ones they are? Stay tuned, you'll find out. And if you want to look at some of these new home trends, there are 4 of them that, quite frankly, I'm just surprised by. I can't even, I was looking through these, trends, and I'm like, there's no way these are trends. This is like a joke, but we'll talk about them. That's what's coming up on the show today. Excited to be here. The podcast for today is brought to you by Roofstock. If you're ready to buy your first investment property, then check out Roofstock, the #1 marketplace for buying and selling single-family rental homes. Featuring tenant-occupied rental properties for sale in over 20 states, Roofstock makes it easy to invest in cash-flowing real estate outside your local market. And to help you invest remotely with confidence, all the properties are backed by Roofstock's industry-leading 30-day money-back guarantee. Sign up for free today to find your next cash-flowing rental property at roofstock.com/thinkrealty. So the quick market update that I have for you, FHA buyers' share dropped 7% from last year. But you know what? They're still buying, right? Sales to FHA buyers, typically first-time home buyers or other buyers with a super low down payment, represented 10.9% of all U.S. single-family and condo sales in the first quarter of this year, which is up from 10.8% in the previous quarter, but down from 11.8% this time last year. But is that really a bad thing? It just means that the market's kind of evening out and doing its thing. Not a big deal. Among metro areas with a population of at least 1 million, those with the highest share of sales to FHA buyers were coming at #1, Indianapolis, Indiana, with 18.5%. Then we have Riverside, California at 18%. Houston, Texas, at 17.3%. Providence, Rhode Island at 16.2%. And then followed by Hartford, Connecticut at 16.2%. That's the quick market update. If you have any questions, get in touch. Go to thinkrealty.com. Let's go ahead and bring on Brew Johnson with PeerStreet. Mr. Brew Johnson, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you very much for having me.
You got it. So I'm excited to have the conversation about PeerStreet and a couple of topics, but do me a huge favor, and for some of the viewers and listeners out there, give me a quick rundown of what PeerStreet is and what y'all do.
Yeah, so PeerStreet's a platform and marketplace for investing in real estate debt. And the idea of what we're building as a business is to create the infrastructure that basically connects lending businesses to capital providers, and also so they can provide more loans to borrowers. And we've built this marketplace and platform to focusing on the real estate investor space, so loans to borrowers who are buying properties to fix up to sell off, in other words, fix and flip properties, as well as single-family rental properties and bridge loans on multifamily and small balance commercial properties. And so the idea behind the business was that we see these as great markets with really good attributes for investors. And we think that there's been a lack of capital in the marketplace historically. And so we wanted to create a marketplace that efficiently allocated capital amongst the participants in the ecosystem. And for us, when we think about the participants in the ecosystem, I think a lot of people understand the idea of when somebody wants to go borrow money to go buy a property as an investment. When we think about the ecosystem, we think about those parties. They're our indirect client. And then our direct client is small businesses that are lenders that historically have made loans to those type of borrowers. And then the other constituent is on the other side of our marketplace, and the demand side of our marketplace is our investors or real estate investors, but investors that are investing in the real estate debt. And so real estate debt is one of these interesting asset classes and part of the real estate investing ecosystem that most investors, especially most individual investors, never could really access historically. And so the idea with the marketplace, the platform is let's provide tools to lenders out there so they can be more efficient in their business. And then let's connect them to investors who want to invest in real estate debt. And by doing that, it creates a lot of value for all of the participants. Lenders can get more capital so they can make more loans to more borrowers, so borrowers can go out and purchase more properties and invest in more properties. And so everybody in the ecosystem wins by us creating this platform and marketplace to connect those parties.
Gotcha. It sounds like a really interesting model. If I am, and it actually makes a lot of sense too, if I'm an investor and I'm looking to place my money in debt, how do I do that? And I don't have to sit here and vet the lenders anymore, or vet who I'm investing in, and then understand what their criteria are, or is in this case, to loan out to borrowers or fix and flip, et cetera. And so what you've created is a marketplace for somebody like me to invest in other lenders that are making loans to borrowers. How do I know if a lender on your platform that's seeking some level of investment is a good lender versus that individual or that entity that may not be? How do I vet that out?
Yeah, well, it's interesting. When you invest in the marketplace and you're actually investing in the loans. You're not investing in the lender directly. The lender doesn't have control of your asset. But the idea is that the loans are being vetted by these lenders that are offline in the markets. And
Yes.
so we have this thesis from day one that small local lenders who lend in their markets basically know what they're doing, have better borrower relationships, can underwrite deals a lot more efficiently than somebody who's looking at something independently. And so historically, if you wanted to invest in one of these deals, you would actually normally either give a bunch of money to one of these lenders to go make independent decisions with that you had no control over. And oftentimes there was very opaque. So you didn't have any idea of what they were doing with your money. Or you would go make one of these loans directly, which is incredibly time consuming. You have to go then find the borrowers. You have to vet the borrower. You have to value the property. You have to do all of these things. And so if you think about, what PeerStreet does is basically we allow lenders to apply to participate in the marketplace. We vet those lenders to get comfortable with their history and track record and what they've done. And then when those lenders go out and fund loans or originate loans in the regular course of their business, they can submit those loans up into PeerStreet's marketplace. PeerStreet then vets those loans to make sure that there's a evaluation has been done, that title and insurance has been done correctly, all the things that normally would have to do when you're making an investment decision. And so for you as the investor, you can rely on PeerStreet's system that loans have gone through a process, and then you can make an economic decision based on, okay, is the yield of this loan something that I'm interested in? Am I comfortable with the loan to value ratio, which is a big risk factor?
Yeah.
And so the idea is really trying to make it as hassle-free as possible, taking very, very high touch, really high hassle investment and making it as easy as buying stocks. And so as an investor, if you're looking for yield, then you could do two things. You could go and look at loans like you'd look at selecting stocks and make an independent decision on a loan-by-loan basis, or we can provide you with tools. Like we have a portfolio builder tool that you could set your parameters, and when loans become available that fit your parameters, we can automatically invest you in those loans. And what that does as an investor, it makes it much, much easier to access these loans that are being supplied by these existing lenders that have this track record. But then it makes it a lot easier for you to make good economic decisions or good decisions based on data and transparency, which has really never existed in the marketplace before. Yep. And then the third thing it allows you to do is we allow you to invest in small pieces like buying stocks. Then you can create diversification a lot better. And so obviously if you can diversify broadly, that should be a risk mitigant. And then if we can give you data so you can make more informed decisions, well, then we believe over time that lowers risk. And so for the average investor, the ability to access these investments in a hassle-free way, but to do it using data and transparency and then get broad diversification, we think it creates a very, very attractive asset class for a lot of investors out there that are looking for exposure to real estate debt, or maybe looking for exposure to real estate. And real estate debt is because it's collateralized, it's the first position lien. Yeah. Generally is considered safer than other types of real estate investments, and a lot of investors enjoy that aspect.
There are so many topics you brought up. I don't even know where to. No, it's great. It's awesome. I mean, in a market where deal flow is tough, right? Me as a lender, for example, like you said, I'm going to have to send out mailers or go to meetup groups. And who has the time for that, right? Like if I'm a successful guy or gal, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a small business owner, or I'm a high net worth individual, somebody that's a high income earner, for example, I don't have the time to sit here like from 5 to 8 and go network, right? I don't have that kind of time. So that's why I think PeerStreet fills that void for me, because now I can focus on one thing, right? Just one thing, and that's deal flow, which you already have, right? So somebody like me that fits this kind of persona, let's say I have some cash and I want to deploy it. Now I just have to understand all the due diligence required, instead of having to, like you said, go through, find a lender in my area and then vet that lender and then vet the borrower and then see how many, like that's a headache to me.
Yeah. That's and that's the goal. That's the goal. I mean, I love the asset class we're providing. I mean, I used to be a lender that would lend in these asset classes, and I've always loved it. I've thought, my best friend's dad growing up, he owned a ton of single family rental properties in our hometown, and he made a bunch of these type of real estate debt investments. Yeah. And over a 30-year period, I don't think he ever took a loss on one of his deals. And I love the asset class. Yeah. Then later on in life, I became a real estate attorney, and I would see our clients would be making these large loans on commercial real estate that to me seemed a lot riskier than these hard money or private money loans that my buddy's dad would make. But there was no ability for the participants in that market to access to, it was this crazy fragmented market. So, and it was almost like this old boys network where you had to know somebody to be able to get access. And then if you got access, it was very kind of ad hoc. You have to make very concentrated bets. And when I saw the traditional lending markets or the traditional bank lending markets versus this investor type market or this private money lending market or hard money lending market, I thought if you could take the positives from both those markets and merge them, then you create benefits for everybody. And so that was one of the reasons for doing it. I mean, I would go make these loans myself, and I mean, I was a real estate attorney. I had access to borrowers. I had and it was very, very difficult. It was difficult timing to go through it. It was difficult to get capital to make more loans than I had readily available to myself. So the idea of being able to connect people that have capital that they want to invest with these lending businesses that could go make more loans if they had more capital to more borrowers who are going and finding it. It just is a win-win-win.
It just seems like that natural progression for you, which is awesome.
Yeah. And the thing about it, there's like analogies from the traditional mortgage market that we've been trying to apply. Mm-hmm. And if you think about the traditional mortgage market, Wells Fargo last year made over $100 billion worth of mortgage loans. And they sold all of those loans off into a marketplace, and then investors invest in those loans. They sell their loans to Fannie Mae and the government-sponsored entities.
That's right.
And then investors buy those loans and bonds. It's a similar concept here, but we're just opening it up and more directly for investors to more directly access it and access what we think is a better part of the real estate lending marketplace, which is short-term, higher interest rate loans. And so the same concepts that apply in the traditional mortgage finance market applies. We're trying to apply them, but apply it a lot more efficiently. So investors better access with less intermediaries and more direct control. So other people aren't taking risks with their money, and they can get better return for it. So that's kind of the concept we're trying to apply, and use technology to do it a lot more efficiently to benefit investors.
Of course. Here's a question for you. There are a lot of different personalities of investors out there. You have the one guy or gal that says they'll stay up late to watch HGTV and say, well, geez, the flipping world makes a lot of sense to me, and that's where I want to focus all of my effort. And then you have that guy or gal that says, okay, well, I see where the flipping world can go wrong, or it can be a little riskier, risky being a very relative term to people. And so I'm just going to look for mailbox money, right? I just want to invest in single-family rentals or small multifamily or large multifamily and see the appreciation of the asset. I get the income, and I can depreciate the asset. I'm seeing some equity, and it's an asset that I can leverage for future purchases. The other thing the other type of person, I suppose, would be out there, some type of hybrid maybe between the two of those identities I just explained. And then you have somebody like me, right? Like, I'm 5'5" and 120 pounds wet. Like, I'm not going to do anything that requires any type of hard labor. So that means flipping is out, Single family rentals is out unless I hire property management, but then that requires brain power and then I have to manage the property. So like, it's a good business. I'm just lazy, I think is what I'm trying to say. But I feel like this is a really good option. Not that you have to be lazy to take advantage of investing in debt, but if I don't want to have a whole lot of hands-on, then this is awesome, right? Because the expectation is, they're vetted deals, right? From vetted lenders. You're not going to let just any lender on your platform. You're going to vet the lender, and then you're going to vet this debt deal that's listed on the marketplace. And then it's up to me to say, click, yes, this makes sense. I'm going to go to PeerStreet.com and buy this thing. And I feel like that's something that I can get behind.
Yeah, I appreciate it. So you clearly are the perfect type of person. I like the way you describe it as the laziness aspect of it.
I am the whitest collared worker ever, right? Like, I'm not your blue collar worker. I grew up in Michigan, like that's blue collar like state, right? That's like a blue collar state. I'm your white collar guy. Like, I can't do hard labor. That's not me. Like, it's just tough.
Yeah. And look, I think there's analogies all over the place, but that's exactly what it was for. It was like, I truly believe it's a great asset class we're providing. And so I think more people should have exposure to it. Now, do I think everybody should put all of their eggs in this basket? No, I mean, there's still risk. Like we could provide you access to this and with these vetted lenders and there could still go deals that go bad. Yeah. And so that's why you want people to be able to diversify. You want them to be able to have as much information and transparency and data as possible. But the analogy, I think, for like the traditional stock investing, right? I mean, most people are familiar with investing in stock and most people can make decisions and do that. But the idea of like E-Trade for investing in stock opened up and made it a lot cheaper for more people to access the equity markets. Yeah. Now, of course, if you're a really active investor, a private equity investor, or a venture capitalist, where you can make really your job is vetting companies at early stage before they make it to the stock market, well, you can create a whole business around that. But most people don't have that expertise, right? So most people want to access the markets in smaller amounts and broader accessibility. So that's what PeerStreet's offering with investors.
I love it.
And the thing about it is, we feel like we're defining this category of real estate debt investing and this ability to buy real estate debt like stocks. That is, we just think it's something new. We think it's entirely different. And we think over time, the benefits that accrue to the average investor are potentially just massive. And so we just think 100%. It continues. And there's another piece about it that I think is, my co-founder, Brett Crosby, talks about a lot. But the idea of being able to invest in these real estate loans that are going to borrowers that are going and buying properties to fix up, to either provide to sell to people that are using it as first-time home buyers that are buying homes, or renting it out to people that are looking to for a rental property. Yeah. I mean, I think that's a really interesting thing. And there's almost a social element of, if you can invest in this and get yield from doing it, you're also providing value. I mean, if you look at all of the stats that exist out there in the housing market, I mean, it's crazy. 40% of all homes in the United States were built before 1970. Yeah. The average age of the U.S. housing stock is almost 40 years old. Yeah. And so historically, if there was going to be new housing stock coming online or providing housing for families or homeowners, normally it would be like new development. A lot of times it would be master planned communities where you're taking over open space to do that. But the reality is you have this huge and aging housing stock. At the same time, the shortage of actually housing units for most people. Rental prices are going up. Home ownership is at historic lows for the last 40 years. And so the idea is, like, if you can actually provide capital, be able to get yield from it on like a fixed income type investment, and then that capital is going into upcycle aging housing stock to make it usable, and improving communities, improving neighborhoods, and providing like move-in ready housing for people. I mean, that's a really valuable asset. There's actually a social element to it that I think is great. The idea of upcycling this housing stock is, I think really positive. And so, that's right. I don't know. We think there's a lot of fun and interesting things going on with it. We think it creates great value. And so we're very excited about what we're doing.
Neat. Brew, listen, I appreciate the insights. Thank you so much for that. So I would encourage investors, if you're looking at debt and if you're looking at expanding your portfolio a little bit, consider checking out PeerStreet.com. Makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense for me, for somebody that wants more of a hands-off approach instead of actually doing the deal, owning the debt. Not a bad idea. Brew, where's the best way that our viewers, listeners can get in touch with you? 15 seconds.
The easiest way is just go to PeerStreet.com and you can create an account, find a lot of information there. And and obviously you have questions. There's a lot of resources there to be able to send emails, ask questions about it. We got a staff here to answer questions and help you guide you through the process. So PeerStreet.com is the easiest way.
Awesome. Brew, thanks so much for joining me on the Think Realty podcast. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks, Abhi. Appreciate it.
Yep, you got it. Think Realty Nation, we'll be right back. This segment is brought to you by Narado Real Estate Investments, your premier source for cash flow investment property. Visit www.turnkeyrealestateinvestments.com. All right, the 7 most recession-proof cities. According to a new report by livability.com, certain cities are surprisingly recession-proof, which means that they offer stability during economic turbulence. Wouldn't you want that? Absolutely. So for me, is Detroit on the list? No, Detroit's not on the list, but it's an interesting city to look at. So, no one can say for sure when our nation's economic future, what our nation's economic future will bring, but these are some towns that may leave you sitting pretty. And this is coming from Realtor.com. All right, Realtor.com and Livability say that number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Number 7 is Des Moines, Iowa. Number 6, Tulsa, Oklahoma. Number 5, Knoxville, Tennessee. Number 4, Victoria, Texas. Number 3, Fargo, North Dakota. Number 2, Wichita, Kansas. And number 1. I'm surprised with my number 1, with this number 1 here, because I used to live in Lincoln, Nebraska. And I never thought, Lincoln, Nebraska, who would have thought? Are you kidding me? That's awesome. Way to go, Lincoln, Nebraska, coming in as number 1 of the recession-proof cities to invest in. And maybe to live in if you are so inclined. All right, a home of Warren Buffett too, I think. That's right. The Oracle of Omaha lives in Omaha, not Lincoln, Nebraska. Never mind then. I'm thinking probably UNL, Cornhuskers, but I'm a Michigan guy, so go blue. All right, next up, we're talking about the 4 new hot to home trends that are too good to be true. And again, I think this is a Realtor.com article, but I was looking at these and I'm like, you can't be serious. And I saw pictures and I'm like, there's no way that I can take these seriously. So the number 1 hot new home trend that's too good to be true is a kitchen island with a bed underneath. So what's the goal here? Right? Like you're waiting for your water to boil so you can put pasta in there and then you're going to take a nap in the meantime. First of all, that's a really short nap. And then number 2, I don't know how functional it is to have a bed under your kitchen island. It's funny. David Hasselhoff, who says, quote, in the past, I had to choose between staving off hangovers with sleep or a bacon cheeseburger. But now I can do both at once. Way to go, David. All right, number 2, indoor yards. Like you want grass inside your house. I'm not really a big fan of this either. I think this is just, I don't know, I'm getting crickets here. Number 3, wall-to-wall wallpaper. Now, when I moved into my first house, when my family moved into our first house, we had wall-to-wall wallpaper, and it just looked gross. So I don't like number 3. And then farmhouse furniture. This is the 4th one. Farmhouse furniture straight from the barn. Hay bale coffee tables. Yeah, I don't know about this one. I don't like these 4 at all. They just seem gross. So that being said, if you have any questions or if you have any new hot home trends that you feel also are too good to be true, get in touch. You can go to thinkrealty.com and we'll have a laugh together. I'm always in need of a good laugh anyway. All right, this podcast is brought to you by Roofstock. If you're ready to buy your next investment property, then check out Roofstock, the #1 marketplace for buying and selling single-family rental homes. Featuring tenant-occupied rental properties for sale in over 20 states, Roofstock makes it easy to invest in cash-flowing real estate outside your local market. And to help you invest remotely with confidence, all properties are backed by Roofstock's industry-leading 30-day money-back guarantee. Sign up for free today to find your next cash-flowing rental property at roofstock.com/thinkrealty. Think Realty Nation, that's a wrap for us. If you have any questions, again, go to thinkrealty.com. We have a magazine as well. It's called Think Realty Magazine. You can pick it up on the shelves at Barnes & Noble. Until next time, happy investing.